Hey guys, welcome back to the Hold Up Project. Special treat for you this week. My brother will be the host. He'll be rebuilding that Turbo 400 transmission out of the 66 Impala. It's a pretty interesting video, as you can see. I'm sitting here doing some final touches on it. So I know I told you last week during the carburetor rebuild video, I was hoping that he was going to tell you a story. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. Rebuilding the Rochester 4GC. Anyway, don't know if you'll notice in this video, some of you might pick up on it, but he's rebuilding the pump, and unfortunately, the pump tumbles off the toolbox, hits the floor. Unfortunately, the pump had to get replaced. You won't actually see it fall in the video. You'll see him set the pump down on the workbench and walk away from it and come back to it. See if you can pick up on it at all. If you can, leave a comment down below. Also, give us a like, subscribe. Let's get on with it. Here's the video. Hope you enjoy.
Hey everybody, how's it going today? Today we are going to be working on my brother's Turbo 400 out of the 396. We did the teardown video previously, so I don't think you need to see that again. We are back at the garage, my garage, where the appropriate tools are. I'll spin you around here quick. I noticed a couple of neat things I think you guys might be interested in. So this is a Turbo 400. Made this rack here so I can mount it to my engine stand. Nothing really special, but it does help. It gets it at working height. Take a trip over here. Center support, nothing really interesting there. Forward drum, more of the same. Again, it has the nice aluminum pistons in there. Those are good for holding power. This is the excuse me. This is the sprag. We're going to go ahead and upgrade that to this later style sprag. You can tell it has a lot more elements in it for gripping and stopping rotation of the drum, the direct drum. Quite a large improvement. So that's just a late model sprag out of a 4L80. If you have a smooth drum, you can go ahead and use that. Nice upgrade there. We're going to check the pump clearance to the gears to the pump body. This is a really nice pump. Still from 66. I don't think this thing has been into before. There's no wear in there. That's just a witness mark. What else are we going to do here? We're going to upgrade this snap ring to a spiral lock snap ring. When I get it in, I'll show you. It's also from a 4L80E. You can go ahead and use one of those. You can even order them from Granger online or McMaster Car, MCS or MSC, whichever it is. They all carry that stuff. We're going to put a heavy-duty snap ring in. We're going to replace this flimsy little thing here with this updated, thicker snap ring. This one is out of a 727 Torque Flight. Another nice upgrade you can get there. This is the interesting part. Normally what you'd have in your planetary section here, you would have a spring and roller type roller clutch. There's your Borg Warner part number. That's all we use here is Borg Warner. So you can see the spring and roller. That's what they call that. That is pretty much standard in Turbo 400s, 4L80Es. From as many as I've tore down. This one's a special guy here. It uses a 45 element sprag. Kind of a neat little surprise. And then your center support would go in there like so. Pretty neat. You don't run across those very often, so we'll go ahead and replace that. If you need to get one of those, if you have run across one of these like I have, get yourself a E40D intermediate sprag. That's what that is. You can still get them, so you don't have to freak out and use one that's all wore out, probably has 80,000 miles or 180,000 miles on it. So that's really what I'm going to do today. Let's see. I really don't think that you guys are probably interested in watching me wash parts. We're going to get these all cleaned up spick and span. We're going to do some nice clutch upgrades. I'll show you what we're going to put in. We're going to go ahead and put a new steel kit in. Those are your factory tan Turbo 400. There's your forward and direct here, and then your intermediate clutches. We're going to go ahead and step up the game. These are factory GM high energy clutches out of a 4L80. These things really soak up the fluid. They're pretty heat resistant. They grip really, really well. And then we're going to go ahead and go with waffles for the intermediate clutches. I like to use the waffle clutches in the intermediate, and you'll get a bunch of guys with physics and fluid dynamics and everything that's going to argue with you about you don't have enough surface area because you got a waffle pattern there, or whatever the case may be. I like to use these. GM spent a lot of time developing these things. Money, you can spend millions of dollars on research and development, or you can spend millions of dollars in advertising. So however you want to look at it, we're going to go with the new bushing kit. Going to put a new Sonex boost valve in, new seals and rubbers and gasket, a new filter. This is late style Turbo 400 filter. I think it's an Allison filter. And then we're going to go ahead and rollerize the back part. So when I get ready to do that, I'll bring you guys along with me and kind of show you the ins and outs of this thing. I don't want to make it too boring for you, and I'll try and keep it entertaining. Let's go ahead and get you started, and when I get everything cleaned up and ready to reassemble, I'll bring you back on. In case anybody's interested in what I use to clean parts, I use a sonic cleaner. This is, I don't know, 2 gallon or so. It's pretty wide, pretty deep. And then I like to use this Von Haas. I found this at Northern Tool. It was relatively inexpensive when I bought it. It was probably $75 for 5 gallons. That's what I use to clean my parts. And then I oil them right away with some WD-40 so they don't flash rust. Because this thing, this sonic cleaner will clean some parts, let me tell you. Go ahead and show you a pump assembly here. So what we've got is the inner gear, the outer gear, got the pump body. This is the stator side of the pump over here. So we've gone ahead and put our bushing in already. Pretty self-explanatory. I didn't really do a whole bunch with bushings and seals showing you guys. I mean, it's a bushing and a seal, so no one really wants, in my opinion, to sit and watch somebody push bushings and seals in for an hour. So this is the front side of the pump. There's the new seal here, and I'll show you right here. So got the gear. Come on. Okay, the gear. And then we are going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to measure from the body to the pump. Now, or I'm sorry, from the pump body to the gear. All right, so you got this is a depth micrometer. If anybody has ever used one of these before, this one has a dial on it to kind of aid in reading. If you're not used to it, I picked this up at a swap meet, so it's a Fowler brand. It's not a Mitutoyo or anything else like that. I mean, but it gets the job done. You could also lay the ruler across here and take shims and touch down to the gear. See what you come up with. But right here, we're going to just set it across the body, and we're going to come down. So that would be 0, 0, and it shows on the board or the display. And then with a very light touch, you're just going to go ahead and come down, and you're going to touch off the gear. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to set you down. This is difficult to do with one hand, but you're looking for about 1/1000 to 3/1000 of space between the two. I measured this one. It measures right about 1 8/10, or almost 2/1000. So that's where it is. It's a good pump. Okie dokie. Let's go ahead and get this pump back together. I showed you real quickly how to depth mic down to the gears. You just go ahead and use a gentle touch, like so. Again, this one's at 2/1000 of an inch, so it's a good pump. Set that off to the side. We're going to go back with a Sonex boost valve here. This will give you a little bit better of a line pressure. Don't really need a ton of line pressure for these, unless you're all out, drag racing and stuff, but this isn't all out. This is just a nice street car. This boost valve has, let's see what we got here. This is an O-ring style boost valve. You can see the O-rings will go here. Gets a nice positive seal. This is the inner valve, like that. You see that okay? O-rings would go right here. So, try and get you a little bit better view here. Hang out with me. Okay, all right. I think we've got that situated. So, we put the new O-rings in. One there. This one's hung up in the spring. Oh, boy. You want to know what really is interesting is you take your transmission case to the car wash, get that thing all cleaned up in the middle of January on a snowy day, and people look at you like you're a maniac. Why is this guy at the car wash? It's snowing outside. Oh, just me doing me things. That's what it is. Okay. I'm going to lubricate this. So, just a little preventative measure here for startup. That's all we're doing. Drop that in there. Drop this in here. Give it a twirl around. Oh yeah, thick. Okay, enough fooling around there. We've got our new bushings put in the stator. Got the new sealing rings on. Got the spacer washer here. Make sure the valve is free. This one's nice and free. Okay, now go ahead and take our little doodad here to hold the spring retainer, whatever you want to call it. That goes in, goes here. Put our washers. This particular pump had 2 horseshoe washers in it. We're going to go back with, let's put it back with 1. See how that works out for us. We don't want an absolute pile of pressure on this thing, so that just wears things out faster. Okay, so there's spring goes in. Sonic supplies us with a new spring. And then we'll take ourselves some assembly lube, put it on our O-rings. Don't want to slam it in dry. Better chances of ripping the O-ring. So, and then you can go ahead and soften up the edges here to make sure the O-rings don't get ripped. You don't have to have an O-ring style boost valve, but this is what they gave me at the parts store because I just didn't have a whole lot. So, and then go ahead and take that and push it down in, and then you retain it with the snap ring here. So I'm going to go ahead and struggle with this because that's what I do, struggle. And we'll get it back together. All right, got our new boost valve in there. Retainer, got that locked in. Just about forgot the bottom there. Snap ring or the retaining clip for the bottom. There we are. Well, that would have been foolish. Okie dokie. A little lube for the top of the gears here. Get her spinning around. Okay. Good deal. All right, and then you're gonna match up your cavities here. So this cavity has a horseshoe shape like so. This one does too. And that's how we're gonna put it together. Just like that. Anything else I need to do? Don't reckon so. All right. So you'll see what we have here. We got 1 long, 2 mediums, 2 shorts. Where do you think those go? We got 2 shorts, 2 mediums, and 1 long. That's what I thought. You guys guessed it. lines up your pump halves like that, and then you can go ahead and torque them down to the spec. That's probably 218 inch-pounds or something like that. Okay, so that keeps the pump nice and round and concentric. Like I said, then you go ahead and tighten them down. Now we take our fancy tool off here. Alright. And then put your rubber O-ring on for the sealant in the pump. So we're done with that. Today, let's go ahead and assemble this direct drum for the Turbo 400. I wanted to show you, this is the aluminum piston that they use, or that this transmission uses. You put the lip seals in it that are in the kit. There's an inner and an outer. The lip seal faces down towards the bottom of the drum. This is your other option that you can buy. This is a molded piston out of a late model, like a 4L80E. Comes with the lip seals already on it, but your apply area is much smaller. Your engagement on the steel is going to be 2 ribs. This is what you would use for a high performance transmission. This will work too. They're just, you know, not quite as good. So let's go ahead. I'll teach you, or I'll show you what you do to put this in. You lubricate the inner and the outer seal, which I've already done. Most of the kits will come with a lip seal wizard. Just go ahead and take that, set it in the center here. So what it does is it forces the lip to the outside of the apply area. Just give it a twirl around. Take it over here, do the same deal. Just kind of walk it around, have patience, and then it drops right in. The next step that you will do is you would put the springs in the retainers, the retainer slots here, and then you could put the retainer over the top, or the cover, and the snap ring. What I'm going to do first though is I'm going to go ahead and grab the clutches and steels that I'm going to put in here, and we're going to measure for a clearance. It's easier to do that with the spring pack out. Okay, so again, this is the direct. You can leave the wavy plate out of it so long as you have enough room that your steel won't rotate underneath of the lip that's in there. So we'll start with steel, a high energy clutch, steel, clutch, steel, clutch, steel, clutch, steel, clutch. There is a little ridge that your ply plate is going to sit against up here, and you'll hear it when it drops down. And then we'll take the snap ring, since we're just measuring for clearances. We'll partially put the snap ring in, we'll measure on the opposite side. So let's go ahead and get our feeler gauges here. I'm going to shoot for about 50 thou. That's what I tend to like to run. So measure out 50 here. And see what we got. I know my clutches are dry. I'm just fitting right now. We got a little bit more than 50. I can deal with that. Next thing we can do, we'll leave that snap ring just like so. We'll flip this over. We'll put our sprag on. As I told you before, we're going to go ahead and upgrade our sprag from the 16 element to the more beefy one from the 4L80E. Just go ahead and put that over the top like so. Put a small amount of oil on here for right now. I'm just going to show you what we're going to do. Get your top and bottom pieces. Go ahead and get your sprag set down. I usually use the back side of a scribe or a pick, just the flat side here. Run it around the teeth. And down you go. Very easy. Rotates clockwise, locks counterclockwise. Fail. Try again. Okay, go ahead and get your top plate here. Set that on there like so. I mentioned before that we are going to go ahead and use a spiral lock retaining ring. Let's take a measurement on this thing. These, you can buy these from McMaster Car. Let's see. The ID measures 2.389 and the width is 145. So we're going to go ahead and replace what would look like that snap ring with the spiral lock. And these things wrap around is what they do. So you feed it in like so, and then you would wrap it, just go ahead and wrap it all the way around in the groove, and it would go ahead and lock down. Just work that around. Round and around. There you go. She's locked in there. That snap ring will not pop off like one of these will. So when you're in the upper RPMs, that's your insurance. That's what you want. So that's nice. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this thing loaded with our springs, our retainer plate, and our snap ring. And then we might air test that. Okay, so just put your springs in just like you normally would anything else. Drop them in. So just put those evenly. Get your top here. Set that on there. This is your retainer ring. I have this massive arbor press over here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Can you see it? Sure you can. Let me get you up there. I'll tell you what. This thing's a monster. It's overkill for pretty much everything, but I mean, when you need it, you need it. I use it for pushing in bushings, setting bearings. Anything you want. So, one thing I wish it did have was a little stop on it, so you could go ahead and set your position and hold it there. Not a requirement. Just tuck it under your belly or armpit or whatever you might have. So, okay, hold that down. Go ahead and put your snap ring in. And then, there you go. Bob's your uncle. There's our center support. Here I am busy talking. Ceiling rings. These are scarf cut rings. We're going to go ahead and put a little bit of jelly there. Hold them down while we slide the center support over the top here. If you smear one, that's not that big of a deal, but I certainly don't care to do that. Then we're going to apply air to this first hole here, block off the second or the third hole. That's a nice seal. It's a good sealing ring right there. I wanted to show you the buildup of a transmission of the Turbo 400 that we're working on, from the output shaft up to the pump, so you can kind of get an idea of how things go together when you don't have a transmission case around the outside. So first off, this is your output shaft here. Put a new bushing in. It's totally nonsense to do a transmission without putting bushings in if you're able to get them. So, I mean, they keep your alignment good, take all the slop out of the tranny. You know, they're important. They're important. So, next up will be our flat bearing. It's comprised of 3 pieces here. Okay. So, put a little oil on this. And then it goes together like so. That has a ridge that hangs down there, so when it's installed, the ridge will go down. Excuse me. It keeps the alignment of the bearing and the output shaft together. Okay. Next, what you've got is this is your next piece that goes in. This goes against or inside the bushing. Again, a little lubrication on there. I've already lubricated these things because I forgot to hit record. So I enjoy doing these things so much that I'll do it twice for you. So go ahead and give that a spin. Sounds good. A little personal satisfaction there. Next is your fat bearing. Has a big old bottom on there, old big booty Judy, and then your top piece. So big side goes down like that. Another spin, just for good measure. Okay, lower planetary. Next up, the reason why they call them planetaries is because this would be your planet carrier here. Then you have your 4 planets, okay? And then in the center of our solar system, we have the sun, and this is a sun gear. So go ahead and toss this on here. Line up the teeth, okay? And then your snap ring. This one has a beveled edge on it. That beveled edge is going to go down. The flat side is going to go to the top here, okay? So this thing has some girth to it, so it's a little bit of a bear to get in there. Keep your fingers out of the way, and then snap it in. There you go. She's snapped in there. Now there's no way that's going to come off the top there, so she's locked in. Now that we've got our snap ring in the bottom of our lower planet, we'll go ahead and we'll put the sun gear in, beveled side down. And that rests on a bearing. You put your sun gear shaft in next. This has a mother spline or missing spline, and that fits into sun gear. Okay, now this thrust washer down here, sun gear shaft. This is our next planetary gear set. This is for reverse. It has the lower reverse sprag in it. It has a new bushing in there pressed in. And this one just goes ahead and sits in here. Drop it in gently. Take your 3-piece bearing. 1, 2, 3. Lips face up on this one. Sandwiched together, and it sits on top of that sun gear. Just like that. Okay. With this being early style sprag, you will, I put this in here like this. I get it seated about halfway in, and then I take the center support, put the new bushing in, the new seal, the springs and retainer plate. This is the inner race for the sprag. And there's a thrust washer that seats in here. Go ahead and lower this down gently over the sun gear shaft, and then rotate the sprag in, and everything just goes ahead and drops in nice and gentle. Okay? That's how that works. All right. So the next thing that you would do is you would go ahead and you would take, if this was in the transmission, you would take your intermediate clutch set and you would put it in there like so. Okay, these steels lug into the case, and the frictions spin about the bottom of the direct drum. The next piece you'll put in there is the direct drum. This is a 5-clutch direct drum. It has a nice sprag on the bottom of it. We upgraded it from the 18 lug sprag to the one for the 4 LAE. So, and then we put a spiral lock retaining ring on here too, instead of just a snap ring. That was easier, huh? Okay, now you can kind of see what we got going on there. All right, good deal. Now, after the direct drum goes the forward drum, there's a washer here, and one on the opposite side of that, and that fits in the top of the direct drum. Okay, there you go. Next, you would have your pump. Okay, So here's the pump. We assembled that on the bench earlier. And just like that, you have the internals of your Turbo 400 transmission. So you can see how it goes together without a case on it. Do a couple of air tests here. Okay, so this center port will be the intermediate or second gear clutch. You can see it move. That's how it applies. I don't want to get buck wild with that because it doesn't have a retaining ring like it would in the transmission. So I don't want to take the chance of inverting that rubber seal. This is a direct drum here. That's the feed for that. You can hear that satisfying clutch apply sound. And then you have your forward drum here, and you would apply air through one of these holes in the bottom, and then that would apply. So I hope that does something for you. It's just kind of a neat little stack up there. The next thing that we would do is we'd take this all down and then put it in the transmission case. So hope you enjoyed that. A little bit of fun there for you. You can see what it looks like without a case around it. All right, let's go ahead and measure this rear end plate. Go ahead and we'll stuff this baby down in here, this lower gear section. Be gentle because it is very heavy. Okay, slide that down in there. We'll put our center support bolt in. Remember, that's a 12.3/8. And our crown snap ring with the bevel facing up. Go ahead and toss that in there. Don't tell the missus that I'm out here working in my good clothes. She'll have my hind end. Always threatens that, you know, so. There we are. Got that in there. We'll torque this center support bolt down 20 to 25 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and find my torque wrench. There she is. Let's see, what do we got? Take yourself a long screwdriver, Phillips head. Stuff it in the direct hole here, just when you're tightening this thing down. Kind of keep that bolt hole centered up in that hole, you know. Not that it has a real high chance of walking around or doing anything strange, but that's just what we're gonna do. Put an eyeball on it. Make sure that's in there where you want it. Go ahead and snug that baby down. Okay, so that was I don't remember, 217 inch-pounds. I think that's about 18 foot-pounds. So I gave it a little bit extra of a snug there at the end. 20, 25. Okay. Let me get the dial indicator. I think it's set up down here. I'll show you what we got going on. So we got a dial indicator. If you focus, got the dial indicator on the end of the output shaft here. We're just going to take our curl bar and lift up gently on the the lower portion of the gear train, and that'll give us a reading. So if you want to do math, you can go from 70 on up, or you can set your indicator at 0 and read it from there. We should have about 8 thou. So I'll run this, you look at that, okay? What do we got there? I know it's rocking back and forth trying to do this one-hand bandit style, kind of like your poker machine, but I think we're in the ballpark. We're aiming for 7 to 17. Since that's a rollerized unit now down there, you can run it a little bit tighter. So I'll get a final number for you and report back, but that's what we're doing. Okay, next what we're going to do, I forgot I wasn't recording. New at this, it's like my first day on the job. We have a cup plug. The name is exactly what it sounds like. It is shaped in a small cup, like a button. And we're going to block this orifice here, since we did the dual feed mod to the direct drum, leaving that one sealing ring off. So you take your cup plug and you put it in there, and tap her in there like so. All set. All right, let's get this second gear put in here, huh? All right. First goes the wavy plate. Not like them Iowa Hawkeye wavies, like a wavy plate. Then a clutch, and when your 100,000 steels, and then clutch. Those are 80 thou. That. Here we go. And all that dropped in there just like so. And then we'll go ahead and drop that in. We'll go from our 90 thousandths to our 104 thousandths. Fits down in there good. Engages nicely. So that should put us about 80 thou then. Yeah, that's nice. We'll run it right there. $82. We can air test that. Sounds pretty good to me. 82 thousandths for the win. Now that we've got our intermediate clutch pack in there, what we can do is to set our direct drum in, so we can use the forward drum apply plate here, or pressure plate, whichever one you want to call it. And then we'll go ahead and put the snap ring in this partially. That way you can get it back out. Make sure your rings are all down there in place. Okay. Then you're just going to go ahead and set that down in. Well, no, we aren't either. You know why? You need to put your band in. So, put your band in there. Otherwise, you'll wonder what happened when you pull her down into the second gear to slow down from going 140 mile an hour down the freeway and aren't able to slow down and smoke your brakes. Man, it'll be a bad day. Don't be going 140 mile an hour. Save that for the drag strip. And you just drop her down in there, like so. And then for your check, you can look at the top of the your shaft. Let me show you here. Look at the top of your shaft there, and if your splines are at the top of your shaft, sun gear shaft, you know what's in there. Also, you can make it lift up and down. You can hear the clunk. So there you have it. Okay. Now we'll pull out our partially engaged snap ring. Pull our forward top hat out. Put the direct top one in. Maybe. There you go. Put our snap ring in. Okay, got the direct drum in. Now time for the forward. Double check yourself, make sure you got the washer on your clutch hub there. There you go, bam. Forward drum's in. Next will be your pump. We're going to go ahead and put lubrication all the way around here. You're going to make sure that our pump O-ring is lubricated and be good to go. Lubricate where that O-ring seal is going to go all the way around. Okay. This pump dropped in here. Line up those bolt holes. Just walk it down in gently. And there we go. Obviously you're going to put your sealing rings underneath there, but what we're going to do is we're going to check our front end in play. Okay? So we'll take our dial indicator, we'll move it up front, we'll check the in play. We got a 10. and then we'll lift up on it. And we have a 38. So we got about 28 thousandths of clearance. So we've got 8 in the rear and 28 in the front. Check ball locations. One in the bathtub and then kind of in a straight line. Second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. I'm leaving number 6 out. That's your direct drum feed check ball. I'm leaving that out. I want all the fluid transfer that I can get since we left that seal out of there and did the dual feed mod. So that's the reasoning for that, and then we'll put the valve body on. Everyone, I apologize. I thought I had the video rolling, but I did not. The only thing that we missed, or you missed rather, is putting the rear servo in, or the rear band servo, and the 1-2 accumulator that fits inside of the rear servo, and then putting the cover on. We've gone ahead and drilled the valve body, or not the valve body, the separator plate. We went to 100 thousandths on the second gear shift and 112, about 115 thousandths on the third gear. So that's where we're at on that. Your next step here would be to put your plate on and the other valve body gasket. Now, word of caution. Always compare your old gaskets with the new gaskets. That's what you want to do to ensure you always get the right one. Okay? So that's just the nature of the beast. And then make sure that you hold it up and the holes are clear through the paper gasket and nothing's blocked. Had a situation one time where I used an aftermarket separator plate and it was cross bleeding into another orifice. This was on a 4L80E, and what was happening is the 1-2 shift on that truck was absolutely terrible. It felt like the torque converter was engaging and dragging down, and it turned out that there was a cross leak in between the plate and the valve body. So that was kind of disappointing. It took me a long time to chase that one down. So just how it goes. But anyhow, so we're going to go ahead and put the valve body back on. Pretty simple also. Just going to go ahead and put your gaskets down. We can use a little jelly, trans gel, to stick the gaskets in place onto the separator plate. It's actually what I should do. That way it keeps everything in smart alignment and you're not chasing gaskets all over the place. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay. I like that. This is where your downshift solenoid would go. Right there. Got 2 small bolts. And just everything goes loosely right now. The reason is because you start snugging things down, you're trying to ram a bolt in there and it ain't going real well, and next thing you know, you've boogered up a gasket or your separator plate, or I mean, you can do a number of things. So when you're doing transmissions, if you're using force, you're likely doing it wrong. And that goes that goes with probably anything, honestly. But you know, just take it easy, slow down, breathe. Next up would be our valve body. Put your governor tubes in the back. If you've done modifications to not use the governor tubes, well, then that's another story. But we didn't do that. This is going to be an automatic shifting car. Really, to me, there's no fun in driving a car that's an automatic that you gotta upshift and downshift all over the place. So I think most of you might agree with that. Almost forgot our manual valve. So slide old manual valve in there. Put it over the stock of the rooster comb, or the stick out, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so you got your bigger bolts, you got your smaller bolts. 7/16 heads and the other. Just wiggle it around. That's all you're doing. Making sure that everything seats down, don't get rammy. This is fun. This one here, your middle one, is going to be for your filter. There you go. And then just walk them down, center to outside, just like you're putting a cylinder head on a car. Thread them all in. I like to go by hand, so and it may take a little bit longer, but you get a better result, I think. You could use an impact gun. I wouldn't recommend it. Use an air ratchet. You could use, a speed wrench. Those are always handy. Especially if you got a nice, good broken in one that you can whip her around. Okay, there we go. We'll get the torque wrench out, snug all these bolts down. They're ready to rock and roll. This has been fun. I don't really mind doing this at all, so I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I'll get the torque wrench out. We'll knock these babies down, and we'll go from there. Got the torque wrench dialed in to 96 inch-pounds. That's 8 foot-pounds. I don't know how many newton meters it is. And to be 100% honest, I'm not going to deal with newton meters. So, here we go. And a 1, and a 2. Got 2 O-rings on. And this is labeled case and filter, so can't goof that up too terribly. And I suppose you could if you really wanted to try. Nice seal on that. And the reason why we put two O-rings on there is for the aeration. So aeration, cavitation, those things will destroy pump gears no matter what, or have the potential to. Here's your next step. Take your filter, go ahead and put it on there, slide her down on. You got your shouldered bolt here, holds everything in place, just like that. That doesn't need a whole lot, you just snug that down. Okay? That's all you're doing, keeping it in place. So, words of note, if you did have a connection here, go ahead and use that, hook that back up. Make sure your downshift solenoid is hooked up, your tubes are in, everything's torqued down, and should be good to go. Another thing is when you're, and I didn't go over this, I didn't go through the valve body for you. When you do your valve body, make sure it's clean, dry. Make sure your valves fall all the way down to the bottom. You don't want any sticking valves. You'll be chasing your tail if you end up having a problem. So that's another word of advice for you. So only thing left to do is put the pan on, put it back in the car, and go for a ride. Thank you all very much for following along. I know that this was a little different than normal. Trying to do something new, get the views up, so go ahead and share and hit the like button, subscribe, leave comments down below. Let me know what you guys do when you build your units, or if you've never built one before. If this kind of took some mystery out of it, maybe you might want to try one now. These are a pretty simple unit, you know, and they're what do you want to call it? I like to call them a stack shift unit. There isn't any bands that go off and another clutch that engages for flare-ups and everything else like the 4L60E. These units are a lot more forgiving. So if you were to do a first one, I would probably do one of these. Thank you again, and have yourselves a great day.